Oh my goodness. Okay. Testing. Testing. Oh geez. Okay. Hi everyone. Welcome to the video. My name is Carrie. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to talk about books. Um I'm a little bit sick today. I just literally seconds before I started filming took some cold medicine, which I normally don't take. So I don't know how this video is going to pan out. But last night as I was falling asleep feeling just like unwell, I did something a little bit messy. I asked you guys for your favorite authors that have written more than one book, and I'm going to share my favorite book of theirs and my least favorite book of theirs. And just looking at what you guys responded with, I'm in trouble. I feel like there might be some unpopular opinions. I might have an internal battle. We shall see. But you guys sent me an obscene amount, like the most responses I've ever gotten to an Instagram story. So we're just going to dive in. But before I do that, I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of this video, which is listening.com. Listening.com is for people like us who are just busy bees, okay? We've got things to do. And they kind of take any like textbooks, PDFs, emails, etc., and they transform them into audio content so you can actually listen to your textbook, etc., on the go. They also have like note-taking features, so if you do want to, you hear something and you want to save it for later, you can just press the take note button and it will take whatever you had just heard and save it for you. It also takes any kind of visual thing in terms of like a data table or a graph, things like that, and it will show them to you on the app as you are reading. It's just a really cool service, especially for students or people who are working professionals and things like that. I highly recommend you check them out, and I have a link in the description box where normally you can get a 2-week free trial of listening.com, but with my link, you will get 3 weeks free trial. So definitely check it out. I know that in the US, a lot of semesters are just about to restart. So if you feel like your second semester is going to be a lot and you need some help, listening.com, there for you. Information will be in the description box. So wow, I feel like I'm fading already. My vision for this video, okay? I'm going to tell you the author, and then I'm going to show you which books I have read by this author. So there's a high chance that I have not read everything that this author has written. I'm only going to be ranking the books depending on the books I have already read, obviously. Does that make sense? Okay? And if an author, I have only read one book by them, I will tell you, and we will just go from there. Starting off strong, Alex E. Harrow. I have my story graph open. Also, I get a lot of questions, people asking me if I have a Goodreads. I haven't used my Goodreads in like 6 years. I use Storygraph, which I believe you can also follow me on. Okay, Alex E. Harrow. Oh, this is difficult. These are the Alex E. Harrow books that I have personally read, and ranking them. Oh no. Ooh, I want to read that. This is just going to be making my TBR so long. I think for my favorite Alex E. Harrow work, I'm going to go with her 30-page short story, which I know doesn't super count as a book, but The Six Deaths of a Saint, I would say, is my favorite work by her, followed by Starling House in the middle, and ending with The 10,000 Doors of January. I feel like I just have no memory of The 10,000 Doors of January, even though I loved the concept. I find that Alex E. Harrow has really strong concepts that I love, but I think her more recent work is her stronger work. So I will say the top, Six Deaths of a Saint, bottom of the pile, 10,000 Doors of January. Ooh, shoot, Cassandra Clare. Okay, so that's difficult. It's really, really difficult for me unless a book is a total standout. It's really difficult for me to pick from a series, like pick which book is my favorite of a series. So this is difficult. Also, how embarrassing. Let me put all of these up here, all the Cassandra Clares that I have read. I can pick my least favorite. I would say wow, is that my least favorite? Hold on. I was gonna say Swordcatcher, but I'm going to take that back because Swordcatcher versus any of the books in the Mortal Instruments series, that's really rough. Oh my gosh. I will say I I really enjoyed. Okay, why did I do this to myself? I can't rank things anyway. Okay, I will say that out of the Shadowhunters series, I will say that Infernal Devices and the Last Hours series are my two personal favorites. I think I liked the first two books of the Last Hours a lot, so maybe that, but I have this weird guilty pleasure with reading The Dark Artifices, and I don't know why, but I've like that's one that I can like reread. So I guess I would say the if I could combine the last hours and like sort of don't talk about the last book in the series because that was kind of a dud. I would say the last hours. But what about the last book of Infernal Devices? The epilogue of Infernal Devices is Cassandra Clare's best work. Her worst work is like take any of the books from the Mortal Instruments series. I would say Swordcatcher. I think I need to reread it. I think I was just kind of thrown off by a lot of things, but now that I've like read it and been like, that's bizarre, I feel like if I could read it again, knowing that there are things I don't like, I could look over it because she also had a couple details in there that I was like, oh, if this story continues, it's going to be really good. Yeah, I would say the epilogue of Infernal Devices and then the Mortal Instruments as a whole for Cassandra Clare. Oh my God. V.E. Schwab. Oh, that's hard. Let me pull up their work. Here are the books that I've read by V.E. Schwab. I've read a lot. God, she just writes so much. She just writes so much. Oh my God. I would say my least favorite, controversial, is Addie LaRue. I did not enjoy Addie LaRue. I skimmed it pretty hard at points. It was just not capturing my attention at all. For my favorite, that's so hard because you have like Vicious. I really liked the A Darker Shade of Magic. I will say I think I liked, what's the third one? A Conjuring of Light. I think I liked A Conjuring of Light the most, if I'm remembering correctly. But I did really like Vicious as well. Gallant was just sort of like forgettable. The Near Witch was also just sort of like, I read it. But I think I really liked A Darker Shade of Magic. So A Darker Shade of Magic being the best, I think it gets better as it continues. I think the last book, mainly because I really like Alucard and Holland. Yeah. So I would say the third book of A Darker Shade of Magic versus Addie LaRue. Kazuo Ishiguro. Ooh. Favorite, Never Let Me Go. Easy. Never Let Me Go. One of my favorite books. I haven't reread it in a really long time, but it's just one that I really remember hitting hard. And then the movie. Whoa. So good. And then I would say, I guess Nocturnes, a collection of short stories. They just kind of didn't do much for me. I really liked The Buried Giant. It was very different from other Kazuo Ishiguro works. So I would say, yeah, I'm confident with that ranking. Nocturnes versus Never Let Me Go. Ooh, Grady Hendrix. I think I've only read two, haven't I? Which makes it harder. Oh no, I have read more. Ooh. I would say my least favorite is the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. My favorite, I don't really remember Final Girls Support Group. I remember really enjoying My Best Friend's Exorcism, but I also think I enjoyed Final Girls. Why is this so difficult? I'll say Final Girls Support Group. Fuck it. Screw it. Yeah. I think. I don't know. I feel like the medicine is hitting me like right now. Miss Leigh Bardugo herself. I knew people were gonna ask this. Least favorite, anything in the Shadow and Bone. Actually, ooh, least favorite, I would say, yeah, anything within the Shadow and Bone trilogy, but I also have a kind of bone to pick with the second book in the Nikolai duology, the King of Scars and Rule of Wolves. I actually didn't like Rule of Wolves. I don't think. Yeah, I didn't like it. Yeah, I'm gonna say that strongly. So I will say kind of the Shadow and Bone trilogy as a whole, but specifically like the last books in her King of Scars duology and Shadow and Bone. Favorites, I feel like I need to say Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom because those books literally changed my life and are the reason why I have this channel in the first place. But I really, really enjoyed her work with Ninth House and Hellbent. I had a rough time reading Ninth House, but then I reread it in order to get ready to read Hellbent. And I think just as a whole, what she created was so good. So I'm also waiting. I've got 2 weeks until The Familiar is in my hands. So that might change. I have high hopes for The Familiar. But as it stands, I would say I can't do it. I can't do it. Six of Crows and Ninth House. I can't pick. Come back to me. Come back to me. But it's between the Ninth House duology slash series now or the Six of Crows duology. I'm so sorry. I literally cannot choose. Brando Sando. Brandon Sanderson. I've actually only read 2 books by Brandon. I have read Mistborn and then I've read Tress, and those are really difficult to pick a favorite. I loved Mistborn. The only reason I haven't finished, like continued the trilogy is because, or the series, is because I know that I will love it and I want to like give it time, and I just have never returned to it. Loved the magic system, loved the writing, but I also really loved Tress. Tress was just like sweet. They're two totally different. Like one is a very like epic high fantasy and one is like just a kind of cozier standalone. You know what? Mistborn stuck with me more. I will say Mistborn is the best out of the 2 because that's one that I'm constantly still thinking about. So I will say Mistborn takes the cake for this one, but Tress, nothing but love to you. Stephanie Garber. Oh no. So I've read a lot by Stephanie. Favorite, Ballad Never After. Wrecked me. Had like a physical reaction to that book. Least favorite though? Oh, that's really difficult. It's honestly between Caraval, the first book, or A Curse for True Love. Honestly, I feel like A Curse for True Love just was such a letdown. Caraval was just kind of like, it was a book that I read. I almost actually didn't continue the Caraval series. I read it and I read the first book and I was sort of like, it was fine. And then all of you guys came into my comments and you were like, you don't understand. Scarlet is the most boring of the 2 sisters. You have to continue. So that was like Caraval, I almost DNF'd in the beginning of a series, right? I almost didn't finish a series. And Curse for True Love was like the end of a series. So it was like a different kind of letdown. But either way, Ballad of Never After will never get over what that book did to me. Emily Henry. How many of Emily Henry's books have I read? I feel like I think that I have read more than I have. Okay, cool. So I've only read 3 actually, and that's pretty easy. I would say Book Lovers was a fave for sure. And then coming in last place is People We Meet on Vacation because I felt dehydrated, scared for them. Palm Springs is a dangerous place and they were locked on their patio. No. And I just don't often love friends to lovers, so it's pretty easy for me. Jennifer Lynn Barnes, who did The Inheritance Games, and I think I've only read The Inheritance Games by her. Yes. That is all I have read. So I will say favorite, The Inheritance Games. Least favorite, either The Final Gambit or the second one. It was such a strong start to a series, and then I just didn't like where it went. So the only thing I can pick is a favorite, which is Inheritance Games. And it's funny because talking about Jennifer Lynn Barnes, like you guys have said in the comments, that she's kind of notorious for picking, like if there is a chance of like multiple romantic partners, she will always pick the ones that the fans, the readers, like don't want. And I find that that's true, at least from my experience. But yeah, I feel like it was such a strong start to a series and then it just kind of was a dud. But I still recommend reading The Inheritance Games, just the first book. And then dream up your own ending. Oh my God, Margaret Rogerson, you want me to pick favorites? Yeah, I can actually do that really fast. I will say that I will always and forever love Sorcery of Thorns as my number 1. So good. Absolute like standalone fantasy perfection. Loved it. I think for me, for some reason, Vespertine didn't hit the way that I thought it would. And I think partially it was my expectations going in thinking that I was gonna get another, like, the way that Sorcery of Thorns affected me. So I would say Vespertine would be my least favorite, but I can't remember why. I only read it once. I would say, like, every other book by Margaret Rogerson I've read multiple times. I only read Vespertine once. So that being said, I love all of her books. Like, even her worst book, I still enjoyed. But Sorcery of Thorns can't hold a candle to that. Enchantment of Ravens was just sort of like, okay. Yeah, that was a good fairy tale, right? Right. Naomi Novik. Oh no. These are the books that I've read by her. I would say favorite would be A Deadly Education. And then I didn't really like the second book, so I didn't continue the series, but I did really like A Deadly Education. And then least favorite would have to be Uprooted. I feel like even though I have no memory of Spinning Silver, like zero memory of it, I feel like Uprooted, I remember being kind of confused by the pacing, and just not really vibing with the story in general. So yeah, Naomi Novik has been like a mostly miss for me, unfortunately, because based on the kind of ideas behind her book, I should love her, but for some reason they just don't hit, and I wish they did. Oh my god, so many of you guys are asking for T. Kingfisher for me to rank her books. Give me a sec. These are all the T. Kingfisher books I've read. Oh no. Okay, I need to look them up. Okay, coming from me right now, this is not my be all end all opinion, but like right now, slightly high on cold medicine. That's really kicking in right now, by the way. I would say Paladin's Grace is still my favorite because that was just so unexpectedly wholesome and funny. I really, really liked that. In terms of my least fave, oh, I really want to reread Nettle and Bone because I feel like maybe I just didn't get the way that T. Kingfisher writes when I first read that, because that was my first T. Kingfisher. So I don't want to put that as my least favorite, but it kind of is right now. I will say that the other work, like Paladin's Strength, Clockwork Boys, Wonder Engine, all that, kind of blend together for me. They're all in the same world and they're all like very much the same beats. So maybe, okay, instead of Nettle and Bone, because I don't think that's fair to rank it as my least favorite because I have like very little memory, and I did kind of like it. I would say my lowest rank would actually be Sword Heart because there was no reason for it to be as long as it was when it was basically the same as her like Paladin's Grace stories. No reason for it to be that long. You know? Yeah, I gotta move on because that's gonna bother me. That's my opinion on T. Kingfisher. Dan Brown. Dan Brown. I have read a lot of Dan Brown. I can't tell you because they literally do not stand out at all in my mind. They are all the same. I will say the one bone that I have to pick with the entire world is that the Inferno, was it? The twist at the end of Inferno is really interesting, I think. But then they made it into a film and they completely changed the ending. So the ending of the film was just kind of stupid. So my least favorite Dan Brown work would be the film version of Inferno. And I can't pick a favorite because they literally don't, I cannot differentiate a single work of Dan Brown. I'm so sorry. A lot of people are asking for Sally Rooney. I have only read one book by Sally Rooney and I didn't like it, and it was Conversations with Friends. So I can't rank it. It is both the best and the worst Sally Rooney book that I have read. Sorry. I know I should be supporting Irish authors, but it's not for me. Oh yeah, okay. The drugs are hitting. Okay, Ali Hazelwood, rank them. I would say my favorite, simply because, okay, hold on, simply because it was my first ever romance book. This is me coming from never having read a rom-com in my life to reading The Love Hypothesis. I got it with Book of the Month, and I remember being like, I'm whatever, probably never gonna read this. And then just one day I was just like bored, out of books to read, picked it up, read it in one sitting. So I will say, like, you never forget your first. And The Love Hypothesis, for all of its flaws, was just like goofy and my first rom-com. So I would say The Love Hypothesis is my favorite. And for least favorite, oh That's really hard. I think that she has these novellas like Stuck with You. The one where they meet in an elevator. I think it is Stuck with You. The one with the like very tall Icelandic and or Swedish iceberg of a man. That one. Cause that was very like co-worky, like co-worker drama. Like we're from battling companies. And I was sort of like, no. So I think that one would be my lowest one. I also do not like anything that takes place in an elevator because I'm not like scared of elevators, but I don't like reading about people getting caught in them because that might trigger a fear, you know? So, yeah. A lot of people are asking for Frederick Backman. I actually haven't read Beartown is on my list, but I actually haven't read anything by that author. Roshani Chokshi. Easily least favorite would be the last book in the Gilded Wolves trilogy by far. And I think my favorite might be either the second book in the Gilded Wolves trilogy or Last Tale of the Flower Bride or the first book of the Gilded Wolves trilogy. Honestly, I love all of her work except for the last book in Gilded Wolves. So yeah, read all of her work. Have fun. Chloe Gong. I feel like Chloe Gong and me, her writing style, we just don't get along. I have read all of these. I would say favorite, I guess These Violent Delights would be my favorite. And then least favorite, I don't know actually. Immortal Longings was just kind of bizarre, but maybe I liked Immortal Longings the best. I don't know. I That's really difficult for me to rank because I just kind of didn't like any of them. As always, I love the ideas, but there's always just like one or two things and like the writing style in general that just keep me from loving the books. So, sorry. Andy Weir. Favorite Project Hail Mary. Least favorite Artemis. What's the one on the moon? I feel like he got a lot of shit for like writing his main character was female in that, and I feel like people were like, Andy doesn't know how to write girls. I never got that vibe. In that book, I don't know why he got so much hate for specifically like him. I think people maybe had other problems with the book, but like just specifically the problem of like Andy writing a female character, it wasn't as like better or worse than any other like female written characters that I've read in some books. So like whatever. So I'm not ranking it low because of that. The story in general wasn't the most appealing to me, but Project Hail Mary was so good. So good. Not people saying Shakespeare. No. For those of you asking about Donna Tartt, every Donna Tartt I have read has been a DNF, and I'm not sorry about it. Wow, yeah. The world is like kind of spinning. Am I okay? I should be fine. All right. Well, ooh, okay, Holly Black. Come here. Come back. Where did that go? Holly Black. I've read so many Holly Blacks. I literally just finished The Prisoner's Throne. I would say favorite, The Wicked King. Least favorite, oh, what was her adult fantasy? Book of Night. Yeah, easily least favorite Book of Night. Picking a favorite's hard though. I actually, upon my reread, I really liked The Stolen Heir, but I'll say maybe the second or third book of the Cruel Prince. Yeah, that's really difficult. I also currently have checked out The Coldest Girl of Cold Town or something. I'm gonna be reading that probably next month. So that might change, but yeah. And I assume that I already posted it, but my March reading wrap up, you can get my whole thoughts on The Prisoner's Throne there. Ooh, that's difficult. Adrian Young. Favorite Fable. I think just because it was such a fun book and I loved the setting, I loved the characters. Yeah, I just love the world. So I think I would say either Fable or The Unmaking of June Farrow. Those two are like top tier. Least favorite, I would say maybe The Last Legacy or Spells for Forgetting or maybe Saint. Ooh. I'll stand by The Last Legacy. The Last Legacy as my least favorite, which is ironic because it's in the same world as Fable, but it just didn't hold up to kind of what Fable and Namesake, like the level that they reached, you know? Oh, Daniel L. Jensen, I Jensen, L Jensen. Literally last night just finished A Fate Inked in Blood. So I would say favorite A Fate Inked in Blood, least favorite The Bridge Kingdom, but both of them, like neither of them really did it for me, you know? I think that maybe we just are not meant to be. Danielle and I, writing style wise. But I will say, if you didn't like Bridge Kingdom, give A Fate Inked in Blood a try. I thought they were quite different. Why are all of you guys asking about Stephen King? Why are so many of you guys asking me about Holly Jackson? A Good Girl's Guide to Murder? I can't rank them because I read them all in one go, so they blur completely together. But I think I need to reread it. I think upon seeing the casting for the TV show, I'm like very excited about it. So I think I could reread it, but I just remember being underwhelmed. And what's the main girl's name? Pen. Anyway, I just kind of like remember not loving that character. But I feel like what's her name from Wednesday could change my mind. Could easily change my mind. Olivia Blake. I would say favorite, One for My Enemy. Easy. Easy, easy, easy. Least favorite would be tied between Masters of Death and the Atlas 6. I think Masters of Death was just so frustrating because it had it had so much potential and there were so many just like golden, beautiful moments in it, but it was just hidden behind paragraphs of paragraphs and paragraphs of words that were just not necessary, which made it kind of difficult to read. Like I felt like if I took my eyes off the page for a second, I would lose the plot and be lost. Like I just felt like I was concentrating so hard on remaining in the story. And then Atlas 6, I just kind of didn't get it. I also apparently read the unedited version, whatever that means. Like I read it in 2020 when she was like republishing it or something. So I haven't read the like fully newest edited version, but I just remember the version I read at least like really focused on certain characters. It's multiple POV, there's many characters, and I just remember it focusing on some characters that I thought were like boring, whereas there were other characters we could have delved into and we never did. So I would say One for My Enemy for sure. Alone with You in the Ether just kind of like floats somewhere in the middle, somewhere in that ether. Erin Morgenstern, I will say that I liked The Night Circus more than The Starless Sea, but that neither of them were hits for me. Here with the unpopular opinions. People are asking about Haruki Murakami. Least favorite, easy. All of his new work. I do not like Norwegian Wood. I don't know why that's his most famous work. I do not like Norwegian Wood. Why did it sound like I do not like Green Eggs and Ham? I do not like Norwegian Wood. Colorless Life of Tsukuru? I forget the title. I remember that one being like, oh, this is kind of the downfall of a great writer. He's told all of his stories. And then there was like the Killing Commander, what's his name? Not good. I'm not planning on continuing, unfortunately, because I love Murakami, as you guys know. And I would say my favorites are his short stories. I think that he really shines in that. So collections like After the Quake, Sleeping Willow, Blind Woman, The Elephant Vanishes. Yeah, I think that I love his short stories so much more. So Riley Sager, put them all in least favorite. What was the one? The one that pissed me off. Hold on. So I feel like, I guess Final Girls was like whatever. I'll say his best one that I read was Final Girls, and the one that pissed me off was Survive the Night. I did not like Survive the Night. I have strong feelings about Survive the Night. I didn't like it. Those are the only two that I've read, I guess. But I don't love that all of his books are like women being tortured by someone that they trust, and then like it just feels like he's got a kink, and it's okay if you want to put that into your writing, but like, I don't need to read it, you know? My thoughts. This is like, I would never do like a video in which I like get drunk and like throughout the video get drunker, but that's how I feel right now. I do not take medicine, so this is like a descent for me right now. A lot of people are saying R.F. Kuang. I've only read Babel and Yellowface. I liked Babel more because that was just like genre-wise more my style. But I will also say that I read it, like the formatting of Babel for me on my ebook I didn't see any of the footnotes. And I feel like if I like for some reason in the formatting, all the footnotes were at the very end. So I felt like if I had read it physically and seen all those footnotes, I might have been like kind of annoyed. Cuz like just in general, even like Emily Wilde, she has a lot of footnotes in hers. In general, I like don't read the footnotes. Sorry. So that might have changed my mind, but as it stands, Babel, Yellowface. Allison Saft. Least favorite. I didn't talk about it because it is an SMP title and I'm still supporting the boycott, but I will say this is like an anti-marketing message. This is not me marketing it as you should go buy it. It's me marketing it as this was really bad and it's a fragile enchantment. I was so let down. It had low-key colonizer romance vibes. Really upset by it. So this is me like de-influencing you. Most recent work, a big dud for me. Big time. Ooh, Marissa Meyer. Oh no. Okay, I will say least favorite would have to be the Gilded duology because I just don't love a story that surrounds a pregnancy and then the way it was handled was super bizarre. So I would say down with Gilded. Even though the first one was okay. The second one was just like because of the content, really a bizarre read. And then I am not able to split them up because I read them all in one go as I like to do with series, but I really liked her Cinder, the Lunar Chronicles, I guess, Cinder, Scarlet, Cress, Winter. I really loved those and I highly recommend. I feel like they were kind of buzzed about and then not talked about, but if you're looking for like a retelling of fairy tales in a more modern setting, but like very fantasy world, but there's like technology and cyborgs and satellites and stuff, I really liked it. I loved all the characters. So I would say just as a whole, the Lunar Chronicles were really strong. Who put Colleen Hoover? I have read two Colleen Hoover books. I will say the best one would be Verity, just because it was like trying to be unhinged and it was. And then least would be It Ends With Us or whatever. But neither of them I would really recommend. But I will say that Verity was like, I feel like the themes that Colleen tends to lean towards fit better in a thriller setting than they do in like her contemporary romance style books. I think that the kind of toxicity and stuff was like less jarring because it was a thriller, but it also wasn't good. Damn, you guys really go hard for Emily Henry. Oh my god. How annoying. We almost made it all the way through without me having to change my battery. Whew, okay, last but not least, before I lose my mind, is Elisa Kova. I really enjoyed actually The Air Awakens. I would say the first two books really, really loved. So I would rank those as my favorites. And then the series did not need to be 5 books. And then I would say my least favorite is hands down. Actually, hold on. I would say Duel with the Vampire Lord because that was just bad. But I recently read and actually DNF'd. Where is it? The Duet with the Siren Duke. Why on earth was that almost 600 pages? And I read like up to 50% of it and nothing happened. So, no. I think that's it. Everybody else that you mentioned, I've only read one of their books, for example. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Thank you so much for being with me as I break down this cold medicine. I'm gonna take a nap immediately after this. What am I reading right now? Just have a chat. I just like chatting about books. I feel like that's the only thing keeping me sane right now. I'm currently reading Silver Under Nightfall by Rin Chupeco. The second book is coming out in like 2 days, so I'm preparing. This is like a vampire hunter versus vampire book, and so far so good. And yeah, hopefully I finish that before I film my March wrap up, which you might have already seen. Also, how sad, this video is likely to be my last full video in this apartment. So if you watch my main channel, I just announced that my husband and I are moving. We currently live in a 1-room apartment here in Seoul, and we are finally moving on up. We are gonna have 2 rooms. How exciting. So I'm going to take you guys along either on this channel or my main channel in terms of like, where am I going to set up my bookshelves? Where am I going to be filming again? Stuff like that. So yeah, I'm very excited for future content and yeah, but it's gonna be really sad to say goodbye to this house. But thank you so much for always. I get so many nice comments about like, oh, I love your background, like where I normally film. Thank you. I love it. I'm very stressed about how I will recreate that in the new house, but that's a bridge we will cross later. But anyway, I'm going to pass out now. So if you guys are sick, hope you get better soon. I'm a big fan of opening the windows, getting some fresh air in there, and drinking a lot of liquid. And then apparently this time taking unknown Korean medicines. So I will let you guys go. I will let myself go. But thank you again so much to listening.com. Once again, that info will be in the description box, but you can get a 3-week free trial of listening.com. Great for the new semester that's starting now. And I will catch you guys next time. I'm very excited for April. I think that my TBR for April is already looking good, so I'm excited to share the books that I'm reading then. And as always, let me know what you're reading, let me know what I should be reading, etc. I will catch you guys next time. Okay? Thank you always. See you then.